To avoid losing the Cold War against the United States, the government decides to create an experiment with the goal of transforming people into super soldiers with great abilities. After several experiments, they succeed in giving the test subjects incredible abilities such as invisibility, telekinesis, and super strength. In the field of military defense, some soldiers are testing new combat machines that do not need to be piloted, as they have artificial intelligence. After blowing up some cars as the soldiers had ordered, the machines rebel and start attacking Soviet tanks and also the location where the soldiers were. After everyone is eliminated, a villain named Kuratov appears and reveals that he was the one controlling the machines. Moments later, General Dolgov tells the story of Kuratov, who was a scientist working for them but became obsessed with an invention called Module 1. It was a device capable of controlling any vehicle, but since it failed, the military shut down Kuratov's research department. Kuratov didn't take this well because he wanted to be seen as a brilliant scientist. He began to imitate Victor, who at the time was the leader of the Patriot project that was creating superhumans. However, unlike Victor, Kuratov lacked empathy and used terrible methods to achieve his goals, showing no concern for his test subjects. Because of this, he was imprisoned by the military but managed to escape and fled to the genetics laboratory, where he detonated a bomb filled with toxic substances. This incident gave him super strength, enabling him to defeat the soldiers and escape. Additionally, he merged his body with Module 1 to control the machines from a distance. After the meeting ended, General Dolgov asked Major Elena to find the superhumans that Kuratov had created in the past, as only with their help could they defeat him. Helena then initiates the operation and asks the soldiers to research news reports where people with special abilities have appeared. A few days later, in a monastery in Armenia, a man named Lernik is finishing his prayers. As he leaves, he is approached by Elena, who mentions the Patriot project. Upon hearing this name, Lernik becomes upset and makes the stones in the area levitate, as he still feels hurt and used as a test subject in the experiment. To convince him, Elena reveals that Kuratov is still alive, and if Lernik joins the team, he will have a chance to take revenge on him. In Kazakhstan, a man named Khan is meditating in the desert when suddenly several vehicles with armed criminals appear. Khan takes his two swords and activates an ability that turns his eyes completely white. He then swiftly slices the car carrying the leader of the criminals in half, and the remaining criminals are easily defeated as Khan dodges all their bullets. Lernik appears to invite him to join the team. Meanwhile, in Siberia, 3 soldiers enter a cabin searching for a bear man. Suddenly, the men are thrown out of the cabin by Arsus, who is furious because he wanted to be left in peace. But Arsus calms down when he sees that the soldiers are with Khan, Lernik, and Elena. In Moscow, a woman named Ksenia is performing in a show with many people. She jumps into a pool to demonstrate her ability to become invisible when her body comes into contact with water. After the show ends, Ksenia is taken by surprise by Khan. Because she lost her memory after undergoing the experiment, she doesn't recognize him and starts attacking him. Khan simply dodges her blows. Lernik also appears and is attacked by the woman, but since he trained her, he knows all her moves. Arsus then calls the woman by her surname, and she finally believes they are telling the truth. To learn more about her past, she agrees to go with them to the army headquarters. Once there, she explains that the doctors had told her that her memory would return over the years. But time passed, and her memory did not return. Additionally, Ksenia noticed that she didn't age like other people. Arsus then asks the woman what powers she has. She says that she can become invisible and that her skin is thermoresistant, meaning she doesn't feel either cold or heat. At that moment, General Dolgov appears to announce that they have discovered Kuratov's hideout and that the Guardians must go there and launch a surprise attack. Moments later, upon arriving, they find an abandoned factory guarded by many soldiers. Since it is raining, Ksenia is able to activate her invisibility and heads toward the guards to take them by surprise. However, she did not expect one of them to be wearing thermal goggles. Realizing her presence, he alerted his companions, who shot a nitrogen pipe, freezing her. Meanwhile, Arsus transforms into a bear and begins attacking some guards. Khan then draws his blades, and Lernik throws stones at his enemies and punches the ground to create a tremor that knocks the guards down. Suddenly, Khan is hit by a tranquilizer dart, and Arsus is caught in a net that is fired at him. Meanwhile, Lernik encounters Kuratov for his revenge, but Kuratov lands a blow on him that destroys all his stone armor. Then Kuratov lifts him high and strikes him with a knee. Minutes later, Elena arrives at the scene and can only rescue Lernik. Meanwhile, Arsis, Khan, and Ksenia are imprisoned in a cell at another hideout. Kuratov then appears and tells them that he created them and knows all their weaknesses. He says he will finish them all in 24 hours if they don't change their minds and join him. Kuratov sends several tanks to Moscow with the aim of destroying the city, causing the frightened people to try to evacuate as quickly as possible. General Dolgov appears to speak with Kuratov and says he wants his reward for betraying the Guardians, but Kuratov does not keep his word and decides to kill the general. Meanwhile, Lernik wakes up and becomes emotional as he recounts dreaming about his young daughter who passed away a few years ago. At that moment, an agent arrives to inform Elena that a scientist who once worked there wants to speak with her. When she meets the man, she discovers it is Victor, the former leader of the Patriot Project. He explains that he wants to help them and will do everything possible to heal Lernik, who has a fractured spine. A few hours later, Elena takes advantage of Kuratov's absence from his hideout and infiltrates it with the goal of freeing the Guardians. After freeing them, she explains that she is now in command because General Dolgov has died. Since the last mission failed, Khan decides to leave and attempt to defeat Kuratov on his own. After returning to headquarters, Elena notices that Arsis seems a bit upset and asks what is wrong. He reveals that he has been watching Ksenia but hasn't approached her because, due to her memory issues, she wouldn't recognize him. He is also hesitant to transform into a bear again. However, Elena promises that she will bring him back so that he doesn't have to live as an animal for the rest of his life. Victor manages to bring Lernik back by administering an injection. However, Victor is caught by surprise when Kuratov invades his laboratory. Frightened, he begins to recall the time when they were friends. With a simple move, Kuratov releases toxic gases from the equipment, causing Victor to inhale them and pass out. After that, Kuratov topples a tower and some helicopters and ground vehicles to transport it to another part of the city. As the tower is pointed towards the space station, Kuratov uses it as an antenna to hack the station and gain control of Russia's most powerful weapon. Back at headquarters, the Guardians and Elena are very worried. An agent arrives and says that Kuratov has managed to enhance his invention. To try to stop him, Elena sends some jets to the tower, but the combat machines manage to defeat most of them. Elena finds Khan, and he decides to share his past. He reveals that he was jealous of his brother, who was much more skilled than he was, which is why he agreed to be a test subject. Khan explains that he decided to challenge his brother to a fight to prove he was the better warrior. But he ended up losing control during the fight and killed his brother. Back at headquarters, Elena shows the combat suits she had made for the Guardians, which also serve to enhance each individual's abilities. Khan's suit protects him against bullets, blades, and tranquilizer darts. Lernik's suit comes with a whip made of stones highly charged with electricity, and Ksenia's suit allows her to make objects invisible by touching them, and she can also become invisible without needing water. Arsis finds it strange that he didn't receive a suit, but an agent shows him that he will receive a mini machine gun to be carried on his back. After they all receive their equipment, they decide to test them. Minutes later, the Guardians gather to devise a plan, because they need to reach the tower as quickly as possible to prevent Kuratov from controlling all electronic devices on the planet. To pass through the force field, they will use an access device they obtained from one of Kuratov's robotic soldiers. Elena explains that after they destroy the module, they will need to exit as quickly as possible, as the Air Force will send fighter jets to bombard the area. After that, Arsis and Ksenia attack the soldiers guarding the entrance. When more enemies arrive, Arsis grabs his mini-machine gun and starts shooting, while Ksenia makes a soldier invisible to deceive the others, leading them to shoot their own comrade. Meanwhile, Lernik infiltrates the parking lot and turns his whip into a shield to protect himself from gunfire. Hiding behind a car, he uses his whip offensively to defeat the enemies. Khan is in a plane preparing to jump onto the tower, but the soldier is having difficulty getting close because the combat machines are shooting at the plane. After realizing that Ksenia is in danger, Arsis fully transforms into a bear to save her. Meanwhile, at headquarters, Elena enters the laboratory and checks Victor's pulse, realizing he is still alive. When he wakes up, he reveals to Elena that he discovered the Guardians can merge, but it's a complex process as they could end up eliminating themselves. Upon noticing that his companions are struggling, Khan decides to jump even though he is far from the building. He uses a hook to latch onto the wall and quickly slices through the structure that the enemies were on top of. After the Guardians reach the core, providing energy to the module, They spend a few minutes contemplating how to shut it down. Since they are running out of time, Ksenia decides to throw herself into the core so that her resilient skin causes a short circuit. Instead of leaving the tower as ordered by Elena, they decide to climb to the top to confront Kuratov. They unite their abilities to defeat him, but due to his experience, Kuratov withstands their attack. Upon being informed that the Guardians are being defeated, a commanding officer orders the tower to be bombed to destroy it. Elena asks the commander to reconsider, but realizing it will happen, Khan hooks onto the plane and then ties up his companions. As they are fleeing, Kuratov manages to cause a malfunction in the plane, but Khan cuts the hook and they crash into the sea. Elena arrives on a motorcycle to speak with the Guardians and tells them about fusion. Despite the risks, they decide to proceed. They transfer all their energy to Lernik, who transforms into a shock sphere and fires it at the tower. The tower collapses, and Kuratov is finally eliminated. Thanks to the fusion, Ksenia's memories are restored, and she realizes that Arsis gave her the ring and that they were a couple. Before parting ways, Elena reveals that they have found other Guardians created in the Patriot Project. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and to not miss the next videos, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Thank you for watching.